recording now.
Hi, John.
Hey, John. I put the Lean coffee table out, and I will just share screen so you can see it, hopefully. There we go. So we've got a few things we'll go through tonight, but what we'll do, I'll cover off a few bits in a moment, but while I'm doing that, if you use the link for the Lean coffee table, and I will just stick that back in the chat. And while I'm going through the other things, if you can think of any other topics other than what's on here that you'd like to discuss, stick them in there. Before I go into that though, I did want to share, we've updated our website. So if you've not been onto our website, we've got various bits and pieces on there. So there's a link to the meetups page. A lot of you will probably have landed on the landing page for the waiting room for this meetup. So again, that's all part of this site. And we have got a couple of free courses on there as well. And we are looking to upgrade this as well. And Paula, do you want to give a little run through what to do with it, with the bites and so on?
Yeah, sure. Well, what we're going to try and do is launch a series of short educational bites. And the reason for this is the courses that we have up there, they take time to complete. One of them is an hour and a half, 2 hours long. The other one is an hour long. And people don't really, we find that people are busy in life. And crypto is a hobby, it's an extracurricular activity, it's something people want to learn about before they transition career. They already have full-time jobs and they just don't have time to be doing courses. So what we want to do is launch a series of what we're calling bites, which are short educational pieces that give the really golden nuggets of information. So we're going to start launching them slowly over the next few months. So you should see them build up on the site as well over the next couple of months. And just they're free. So just dip into them, explore them, and feel free to send us feedback on them. Feel free to send us ideas for topics. Really what we'd like is the type of members that we tend to get most often are non-developers. They're people that are trying to build a personal brand in the industry and stuff like that. And they kind of need to know a little bit about absolutely everything, but they don't need to be a full expert on everything. And these bites should really help them sort of people. And then our longer courses will help people that want to become more of an expert in certain areas as well. So that's the idea with the educational side that be going on then on the website. In terms of the meetup group, Simon, do you want to talk about what we're doing there?
Yeah, so we're looking to try and expand meetup groups. So at the moment, we've got three. We've got the Canadian one, which Jess runs, the UK one that I run, and the Irish one that Paula runs. But we're also looking at whether there are opportunities to do meetups further afield. So if, for example, you speak a different language and you feel you could run a meetup in your native language, we could do that. We may also look for some of the meetups to have translations done at a later date. And at the moment, we ideally want to get up to around 5 groups in addition to what we're doing at the moment, and then see where it takes us from there. So again, if anyone does feel that they would like to host or be involved in actually hosting the meetup groups, and potentially for a different country or in a different language, drop myself and Paula a line.
John might be interested in a Scottish one. No pressure, John.
We'll think about that one, yes.
So we will move on to actually before we do go into the Lean coffee table, thought I'd bring this up. So it actually looks quite nice for a change. I was thinking back to all the times when we've had a lot of doom and gloom charts, but the crypto bubbles are looking quite nice today. And actually, it's been a decent week. Day-wise, we've had a lot of movement, and hour-wise, kind of had a mix up and down. So it's looking good. But yeah, it's possibly spurred on by a lot of things. But but hopefully it's a positive for the market. And I think that there seems to be a lot more interest from BlackRock, HSBC, a lot of the big banks and investment firms who are actually talking about cryptocurrency and in particular Bitcoin. So it'll be interesting to see how things progress. And the other thing I thought I'd share very quickly, just before we do move on, is I came across this site, and when we're talking about price action, one of the things that you do tend to find will potentially dump a token is token unlocks. And the token unlocks are basically where you get a venture capitalist, or you get someone that's invested early in the token, or even the team, and tokens will be released to them. And that usually, depending on who it's released to, will involve a sell-off. So if there's a particularly big token unlock, you can normally expect a bit of volatility with the price. So what I'll do, I'll stick that in the chat as well, but
I actually use that website, so I do quite a bit, Simon. It's very valuable. It doesn't only cover the likes of VCs, but it also covers some blockchains have cliffs, as in for 6 months they won't release any more tokens, and then they'll have a cliff release, a huge release, like there be an unlock to a foundation or something like that. And it covers all of them. It also covers newly minted and newly distributed coins as well, so you can search for them. If you see there on the little black part of each one of them, there's a little pink chart, and some of them have a little yellow chart. That's the difference between a cliff drop and some, just there, Simon, and something that's more kind of released slowly. So it's the cliff drops you really want to be careful for. And anybody that studies tokenomics or anything, this is one of their main sites that they would go to. So yeah, just a little bit more on that site. Sorry, Simon.
Good stuff. Okay, well, what we'll do then, because I've talked for quite a while now. So lean coffee table. So everyone should hopefully have the link. So what we'll do, if we could just spend a minute, sorry, I'll reset the votes only because we might have a few more topics added. If you'd like to go onto the link and any additional topics you want to add, I'll stick the link in the chat again. And if you could just spend a moment, we'll do just another minute for any additional topics you want to add. And I'm going to try and give us some background music this time.
Oh, yay. You gotta pump it up.
You getting that?
No.
No, hold on. You're not getting sound from it?
No.
Oh, no.
I have to sing. You gotta pump it up.
No, you won't.
You gotta pump it up.
Well, I'll stick the link in. Feel free to put your own background music on.
Oh, Dudley.
Cool, but we'll give it a minute. But any topics you want to add on there, as I said, just stick in the add topics and that'll go on. So we'll give it until 7:17, so not much longer.
I don't think Ivan is in, and Zay and Pragna. You haven't managed to log in to Lean Coffee Table. Are you having trouble with it? I'll just drop the link into the chat there again. So basically you put in your name. It doesn't save it or anything like that. You just put in your name so we can see who's in. We can see the attendees. And then there's an area to add a new topic. So if there's anything in particular you'd like to discuss tonight, a question, it can be, as Simon said earlier, a beginner question, advanced question, stick it in there, and then we'll all take votes on the order of topics. Great Day is in now.
Brilliant. Okay. What we'll do then, it looks like we've got no more topics. So we've only got Zay to vote, me to vote, and we've got Mark. Okay. So
So Zay, if you just click on any of the questions that you think would be good topics to discuss, and then we sort them in order.
Okay, so you've still got 3 votes, say, so hopefully you could see what I was doing. Don't make the mistake I did. I'm sharing screen. So don't click the share screen. You need to click your own tab with it. Oh, and Ivan's on now as well. Brilliant.
Good stuff.
So give it a second for those
We're
guys
just
to
missing
votes.
Ragnar. Is Henrique in there? Am I losing my marbles this evening?
Might be.
Hi, Paula. Yeah, I'm here.
Are you in? Oh yeah, you're there. Yeah,
my,
okay.
My camera is not working properly, so I probably look very strange.
It's okay.
Washed
Ragnar's in
out.
there now as well.
Cool. So Ivan, are you able to vote? Okay, so Pragna and Zay, you've got 1 more vote each, and then we'll sort on to discussion.
Ivan has 2 votes.
Yeah.
Come on, Ivan, you can do it.
Sorry, I've already voted.
Oh, have you already voted? Oh, maybe you're on there twice. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Okay, no problem. Right, let's start discussion then. So, top 1. How are you protecting your cryptocurrency from hacks? This looks like quite a big one. I'll put 10 minutes, not saying we'll go 10 minutes, but it could be quite a big one. So we had another one that was similar to this. So does anyone want to kick the discussion off with this? Because this was actually my topic. And it was mainly because I've started to see a few more of the YouTube dodgy videos appearing where they're asking you to send a Bitcoin to get 2 Bitcoin back. There have also been a couple of things I've had where they've announced token airdrops for things like Chainlink, Bitcoin and Ethereum. And they've been quite rife on Twitter and other social media. So it just got me thinking about the number of scams that are out there. But that's not the only way you need to protect your cryptocurrencies. You've got hacks, you've got the fake airdrops, death, tax, and so on. So has anyone got any views on how they would protect their cryptocurrency, or any questions about protecting their cryptocurrency?
I have a couple of apps that I use that are browser plugins. One is called the Fire App. It's basically a browser plugin, and when you go and you sign a transaction in your MetaMask, you know the way MetaMask isn't very user friendly. Welcome to Web3. It gives you all this stuff that you just can't read, a sequence of numbers and everything else. Well, what the Fire App does is it actually translates that into a readable format. So when you go and sign a transaction with your MetaMask, Fire App doesn't actually integrate with MetaMask. It doesn't connect with MetaMask. What it does is it captures the request sent through to your browser, and it translates it into an easy to read format. So what it ends up saying is you are sending XXX coin to XXX address. In return, let's say you were getting an NFT, in return you will receive blah, 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 blah. And it just makes it really, really easy to read. So if you see something in there that doesn't make sense, you can actually reject the transaction before you sign it. Then I also use another app called Wallet Guardian. And Wallet Guardian, what Wallet Guardian does is, again, it's very similar to the Fire App, but it doesn't translate it into a readable format. It actually scans through previous scams and uses AI and checks to see if the contract or whatever it is that you're signing could be attached to something not so favorable, and it'll give you a warning of whether it's clear or whether it's not clear. And then again, you can sign the transaction as soon as you get the clear message from that particular app. So I use the 2 of them to help me when I'm signing transactions. I have signed a transaction before in the past that was a dodgy transaction. Really, I should have known, because what I wanted to sign, I knew was on Ethereum. And all of a sudden, my wallet, I went through a Twitter link. The Twitter link was obviously a dodgy Twitter link. And my wallet brought me to Arbitrum instead of Ethereum. So I actually should have known. I should have had the cop on to know I'm signing something on Ethereum here, not on Arbitrum. There was about $120 in my wallet. It all got wiped. So these mistakes are easy. They're easy. You see the biggest names on Twitter getting hacked at times, saying, I can't believe I signed this transaction. So it's not uncommon, but be vigilant. And the more little kind of plugins that you have to help you, even if it means you have to wait an extra second before you can sign the transaction, that second might be worth whatever's in your wallet. So that's my input on it.
So Wallet Guardians is on the Chrome store.
I'll get links for both of them now, and I'll drop them in.
Links for them, but definitely worth looking at. I mean, a couple of other, I mean, the basics, but make sure your antivirus is up to date. If you've got an anti-malware program, make sure you've got that running, because there are still things that are not necessarily even relating to crypto, but things like keyloggers and things like that will steal your personal data. And check the web address. So when you're going to certain sites, one of the things that's started happening a lot, and there are actually quite sneaky ways they're starting to do it now, where you can't tell it's the wrong address, but sometimes you'll get the address might have a 0 instead of an O. If it's so say bitcoin.org, so it might be a 0 instead of an O for Bitcoin. So all sorts of things like that. So I think, as Paul said, it's just being hyper vigilant with it. As it out of interest, thanks for sharing your hack, Paul. But has anyone else had the misfortune of being hacked or losing money to a scam?
So yeah, I was hacked once. I lost around $40,000 worth.
Ouch.
Yeah, so what happened, I was in the process of transferring money from like a hot wallet to a hardware wallet. And I knew that that hot wallet was like not safe, but like I didn't comprehend the amount of risk. And it was only there for like 10 minutes. And then so we ended up tracking it down. There was just malware on the computer, got the hot wallet keys and cleaned it. So that was gone. So yeah, rule number one is just to make sure computers are up to date with antivirus, anti-malware. That would have been like a really easy solution, because yeah, the computer was compromised, didn't know it. Didn't even think about it. Like usually I keep everything on hardware wallets anyway, but sometimes you're just like transferring money, and you know, you have a temporary wallet while you're doing some things, and that's what I was doing. But yeah, lesson learned. And now I use my Trezor to create temporary wallets, and like it's really great. So like now, even for temporary wallets, I use hardware wallets. I think Ledger would make it difficult, so I ended up getting a Trezor. And the beauty of this is that you can create an unlimited amount of wallets. You can create just a temporary wallet with a encryption phrase, and that can be as long lasting as you want. And so then I don't have to worry, you know, if I want to do a temporary transaction, just like move funds between two places, I don't have to create a hot wallet for that. I can just sign it on my Trezor. So that another rule is like, if you have money that you care to lose, don't use hot wallet, use hardware wallets. You know, whether that's Ledger, Trezor, whatever else, like there's a lot of talk about, you know, Ledger being safe or not safe, but like any hardware wallet is better than no hardware wallets. You do need to use a hardware wallet if you have anything that you care to lose. And then the other advice I have is just pick your blockchains wisely. Also pick your dApps. If you look at where the most hacks happen, like there's a pretty common theme in that, they're happening on the Binance Smart Chain. They're happening on these smaller blockchains. They do happen on Ethereum quite frequently. Where they are least common are on the UTXO blockchain. So you think Bitcoin, Monero, Cardano, Ergo. The reason that these are more or less prone to attack is just like the way UTXOs work. They're kind of push based. So like you don't authorize a smart contract to have access to your wallet. So you have to each smart contract interaction, you have to actually explicitly authorize it. Whereas it's different if you use like the Binance Smart Chain, you can like go to a dodgy link, go to a dodgy dApp and think that you're doing something, but then you actually have to give authorization to the smart contract. And sometimes those permissions are really open and they get access to things that you wouldn't think of being accessed they would have access to, and then you just end up signing because like it's really obscure. You don't really understand what your wallet is like signing. You just like look at the dApp, it looks okay, and then like you look at the transaction, think, okay, I'm signing for this, but you're actually signing for something else. So pick your blockchains wisely, and just stay diligent.
Robert, did you mind me asking when that happened to you? Did you report it?
No, I didn't report it because I traced it down and it was all anonymous. They were pretty clever because of the amounts. So I was sitting in the wallets for a couple of days, and then they ended up splitting it up into about 500 different smaller wallets, and then sold it piece by piece over time, over a few days. Like they were done in a week. And it was just like completely obscured. So, I mean, I didn't really see the point in reporting. It's gone. Like there's no way to get that back. Like I know what was caused. It was malware, and like tracing that down at that point is just going to be fruitless.
Interesting. I just dropped in another app that I use as well, based on one of the points that you said there, Robert. When you're signing transactions, you give authorization for you just don't know, and you can often sign transactions that give unlimited spend. And if it's a dodgy app at a later stage, they could come in and just wipe your funds. So it's really, really good habit. And I know now actually on MetaMask, when you go and try and sign a transaction now, I've noticed it's asking me to add in a spend limit. But in case you haven't added in correct spend limits and that, if you go to Revoke.cash and you connect your wallet, it'll scan and see what permissions that you've given to everybody and what apps and stuff like that. And you can revoke those permissions. The problem with that is like if you're using Uniswap on a daily basis to swap a particular token, USDC, for example, you're not going to want to really revoke that, because every time you do a new transaction, you have to approve the transaction first, which means there's a fee. But if there's stuff that you're not using, if there's stuff that you're not familiar with, if there's stuff that you barely ever use, really, really good idea is to revoke all the permissions that you've given. So Revoke.cash will connect, will run through your wallet, see what you have permissions for, and allow you through the app to revoke those permissions straight away.
Just another quickie on it. If you are getting a hardware wallet, make sure you get it direct from the manufacturer. So don't get it off Amazon, don't get it off eBay, because there are various scams where people put in fake seed phrases or mod the wallets. So just keep on top of that and make sure you get it direct from source. And one other thing, and this is just the general thing, and I really appreciate you sharing that as well, Robert, because that must have really stung. Ideally, with these type of scams, do report them if you can, regardless of whether it can be traced. Mainly because we've got someone on one of our other meetup groups who actually works in financial crime. And it actually helps them put more resource towards actually combating this type of crime. Regardless of whether or not it can be recovered, it all goes into a big pot of statistics and shows what actually is going on. And cybercrime units and things like that will actually have more resource put towards actually stopping it.
And another thing on that as well, actually, there's so much when it comes to safety. So you see people, there's agencies out there that say, we'll help you recover your funds, and they're charging you upfront to recover your funds, and then they leg it with your money. So if you go to a legitimate law enforcement agency, if you can go through a law enforcement agency, there's no charge in recovering your funds. Absolutely no charge for recovering your funds. Now, it might take a long time through a law enforcement agency, and if you're in a hurry, you might have to go through somebody faster. But in them circumstances, I would ask the law enforcement agency, okay, who do you guys work with? Who can you recommend to me? Because I need these funds back ASAP, and if I can get a PI on it, you can do the legal side, they'll do the recovery side for me. And it might work out a little bit better, but don't just go to anybody for recovery, because that's a huge scam that's out there now, is recovery scams.
And believe it or not, we did have 1 or 2 people that are in the Telegram group that actually did get hit with that. So it's, yeah, if you've had a loss from it, there is that temptation, but more often than not, I think, as Robert said, once it's gone there, they're not stupid, these hackers. Cool. Okay. Well, we had a vote to extend it, so I've just put another minute on. The other bits we had on there were just things like death and tax, and we're not going to spend much time going over those things because that would be a whole session in itself. But I know I've said before, for those of you that have been on, make sure you've got a plan for if anything were to happen to you, because you have it drummed into you to keep your private keys secure, your password secure. Don't share it with anyone. If anything were to happen to you, what would happen to your cryptocurrency? Because if you've not got a solid plan in place for it, and you've not got some way of someone else being able to deal with it, it's gone, and it's irrecoverable. So just a warning there. And the tax one really is just make sure that you know the tax rules for if you're buying and selling cryptocurrency. Only because while the market could be going up, could come into another bull run maybe at some point next year, if you are making gains, the last thing you want to do is be paying a load of money back on capital gains or income tax, depending on what you're doing it. And each country's got different rules for it. So I know in the UK, we've got the bed and breakfasting rule, which means that if you buy a token, if you sell it, maybe at a profit, and then buy it back within 30 days at a lower rate, to actually take the average, I believe, of the price of it. So you do have all sorts of pitfalls with tax. Right, so I think we've probably spent enough time on that, so I'll finish that topic. And what have we got next? So Celsius. Okay, put 5 minutes for that. So I suppose the first thing with this is, has anyone had funds in Celsius, or has anyone lost funds in Celsius where they went into administration?
Yes, I have.
Yeah.
Which I managed to get my Ethereum out, and I left some DOT still there. Not a lot, but I've abandoned the whole idea that I'm ever going to get it back. But yeah, it's interesting to follow the Chapter 11 proceedings. I don't know how long they're going to grind on for, but it'd be nice to get some of it back. But we'll see.
Yeah, and I mean, I only had a small amount. I think I had a couple of hundred synthetics tokens in there, so I was quite lucky because I moved a bag of Matic I had out literally the week before it all went pear-shaped.
Didn't Jacinth have a whole Bitcoin?
Jacinth did. One of my friends as well had 3/4 of a Bitcoin and a couple of hundred Link tokens, among other things. So it has hit quite hard. One thing I did spot going through the Twitter sphere, as you do, was by the look of it, they have actually, let me just find it if I can. So they have actually come out with something today saying they're going to distribute to holders, and depending on what type of holder you were, a percentage of the tokens that you held, which all sounded fine until I scrolled down a little bit further to what I think I had up on screen a moment ago, is they're actually taking the prices for calculating this distribution from the dates things went pear-shaped by the look of it. And that means on the 13th of July 22, these were the prices of the tokens. So if you were holding Bitcoin as an example, there we go, Bitcoin was at just under 20,000. And that, by the look of it, is what they're going to base the amount you're going to get back on. So yeah, it's not going to be at today's rates, it's going to be at the petition filing date.
Was it Celsius that came out and said they're going to dump all their alts for Ethereum and Bitcoin?
Yes, and that,
yeah, okay.
But it sounds like they're actually going to pay out some in USD. I've not fully read this yet, so I won't go into a huge amount of detail on it. But I know if they're taking those prices and they're giving you USD back and they're dumping the tokens, I think we did actually have another one on there about that somewhere or other. But yeah, if they do dump all the tokens, then they have a lot of Matic, a lot of Cardano, a lot of other tokens. So if they're dumping all of those on the market to convert them to Bitcoin, that could have quite a big impact on altcoins. So
it'd be interesting to see numbers of how much they have to kind of be able to judge the impact.
I believe there is a. I'll try and find a tweet and I'll stick it in the Telegram group. But I believe someone's done some of the calculations for it, but they do hold quite a lot. So it could be interesting to see what will happen with that and the volatility. And apparently, it's this week. It's due to happen as well.
Okay, and Bitcoin dominance has already been on Bitcoin dominance, not Bitcoin price, but Bitcoin dominance has been on a bit of a bull run. So it has. It must be up to around 50% now.
It was over 50. I think it was.
Quick look.
I was going to say, do you want to bring the chart up?
I'm just looking at CoinGecko. My computer is working very slow. Verifying I'm human. 48% we are on dominance for Bitcoin, and Ethereum has 18%. So we've nearly 60% dominance between Bitcoin, or nearly 60%, is it? Or 70%? Yeah, nearly 70% dominance between Bitcoin and Ethereum. So there's only 30% liquidity in altcoins at the moment as it is. So altcoins are bleeding out compared to Bitcoin. It really means that all the funds from altcoins are just filtering back into Bitcoin because the general market cap isn't down. So yeah, I would see this putting additional pressure definitely on altcoins.
Yeah. So I think yeah, we'll have to wait and see what
so
happens.
Holding like 60 different altcoins isn't really a great idea right now.
Cool. Okay. Has anyone got any thoughts or views on the market at the moment, just while we're on that topic that they like to share?
Like, it's been a nice week.
I like looking at the bubbles. I think the thing is though, it lulls you into a false sense of security, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Because I know I go on about him all the time, but my friend, as soon as you get the slightest whiff of green on the charts, he's like, oh, the ball runs back on, we're going to the moon. And it might be a tiny little pump and he's getting all hyped over it. And this is a guy who's been in crypto for about two bull runs as well. So yeah, and bear markets.
Yeah, look, it's so easy. It's just so easy to fall for the FOMO. Everybody falls for it. Everybody. I'm going to throw a little video into the chat. It's like 1 second long. FOMO.
Oh, is that? Oh, that one. I won't play that. It's fine.
Not everyone, Paula. Not everyone.
Chris, like well, I admire your ability to sit on the sideline. Very much admire your ability to sit on the sideline.
I'm looking for 10K Bitcoin.
Are we going to get a 10K Bitcoin? Do you think we're going to get 10K Bitcoin?
I don't know.
So if we don't get 10K Bitcoin, what's going to happen? You're going to buy in at 60?
I'm not going to buy in.
Okay. Okay, well, what tends to happen is people wait for the 10K and then they don't get it. And then they wait again and they buy in at the all-time highs.
And I think the other thing is that if you listen to a lot of the influencers at the moment, it's all like bull run, bull run, bull run. It's quite interesting because if you go back just a month, it was all doom, gloom and bear market. And then all of a sudden it's flipped and obviously they're getting hits for their YouTube channel.
And I had put one of my questions in the Lean Coffee table
Yeah.
about another Black Swan event. That was my
Yes.
question. I
Well,
still think there's a sting in the tail coming.
I was just going to
Don't
say,
ask
can
me
we
what,
chat about that? Because I did wonder if the Celsius might be one of the things that cause an issue. But that's not a black swan really. But what sort of things? Well, what do people think? Any?
Well, I share Chris's optimism of a 10K Bitcoin. I doubt we'll dip that low, but I still think there is a chance we will have something that will impact the market again. Just with everything that's going on in the wider world, I think there is a sting in the tail, but I don't have a crystal ball working well enough to say what that will be. However, just intuition says to me there's something else to happen. Yeah.
Could be Binance. Like, I know Binance have now got into trouble with Germany. A few places in Europe.
Belgium as well, haven't they? Belgium, they're out of.
They had to issue a cease and desist notice because there's companies popping up using the name Binance that have nothing got to do with Binance. And that's bringing the reputation down in the African nations. It's like, we don't want bad actors in the space, right? Let's be honest here. Nobody wants bad actors in the space. And if CZ and his team were doing what he's being accused of, I'm happy for them to go. Okay, so what they've been accused of basically is moving funds, basically doing an FTX, borrowing from Peter to pay for Paul. But they may have traded their way out of it. As in, when the market was really, really low and FTX did collapse, and then we got from Christmas or from the new year up until a month or two ago, there was a lovely little run. Within them 3 months, they very well may have traded themselves out of trouble. Okay, which happened with Tether. Tether were in awful trouble and they traded their way out of it. So it's possible to do this, wing it till you win it, like. But if they're told to pull the plug, that's going to be a huge blow on the entire market. They're the largest exchange for trading Bitcoin. When it comes to trading Bitcoin, they've got like 70 or 80% of all the trades. So if they were to go, that could be, I'd say that could be a big black swan event.
There was a lot of talk about Binance being the predominant exchange for the East, so China and Asian countries and so on, and Coinbase being for kind of Europe and the States and so on. So Binance backing out of Europe and predominantly doing trading, I guess, over that way. I've just spotted a message in the chat from Victor, which is a good one. FCA, fiat cost average. Change the D for fiat. I don't like the dollar.
Fine, yeah.
But yeah, no, really good, really good one actually, John. And I think, yeah, as Paula says, if Binance does, Binance is such a huge player in the space. Yeah, it's going to have an impact, but we'll have to wait and see, won't we?
Then there's the economic situation as well, where we're on pause with the interest rates in America. We're not on pause. Europe went up again.
UK
but I
went
think
up 0.5%.
UK went up.
Yeah.
Canada had gone up. So although the States paused, they also indicated that there's going to be 2 more rate hikes this year. So they've indicated that already. So we don't know how long that they're waiting for the data and to see what happens. So if inflation keeps going up, the printer is on.
Chris, have you got any views on the economic situation?
I don't think the governments have finished trying to regulate and control this sector, this market. So there's more to come, which will drive it down. I don't think fiat's done quite just yet. I use the S&P 500 because America leads the way. I mean, it's very much strongly tied to the dollar as an alternative mirror for Bitcoin and crypto. As soon if I can see things improving, still going up in the S&P, then the likelihood is that the crypto market is going to be suppressed. And I still see upside at the moment in the S&P 500 in America, the American economy. So it's not done quite just yet. I think the UK is very, very close to recession. And just watch the property market and that and what happens in Ireland to boot. So
Ireland is very close to our local data people, the ERSI, whatever we call them, have said we're officially in recession. But they also said it's our first recession in a quarter of a century.
nope.
No, is right. Yeah. Like I was like 2007, 2010. I'm not sure when that recession hit. The property price crash was 2007, but I think we didn't go into recession until 2010.
Well, it happened though. Okay. I think it happened in 2008.
It may be, but that's not quarter of a century. So it totally made me disbelieve the story that they had put out, because I was like, what? How could they say this?
But the property market goes in 14 to 18 year cycles. So we're starting to hit that now, that time frame from 2008 when we had that structural crash with the banks. We've had the pandemic event-led crash, but that's event-led, therefore it's recovered relatively quickly. So I'm
not sure we can have another property crash though globally, because it definitely isn't unique to Ireland to have a housing crisis. From some of the accountancy seminars that I've been at, we have a huge housing crisis over here in Ireland. They're not building enough. There's more people than there is houses, blah, 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 blah. But that does not seem to be unique to Ireland. It seems to be a problem in every country. So the demand is there. The supply isn't there. And I don't know how there can be a crash if the demand isn't meeting supply.
It is because people can't afford the prices. The prices have gone up so much. You look back in your parents' generations, it was like the head of the family would tend to be the man, could accommodate a mortgage, and then things like Thatcherism came along, and it took two people to serve as a mortgage. It changed the whole dynamic of society. You know, people moving away from Ireland and like to find work to service their lifestyles. So I think it's the prices is the difference. I mean, we've had inflation up at 10% before.
Yeah.
But when you apply that to the actual property prices, 10% on a 300k asset,
Yeah.
as opposed to 10% on what, a 50k asset.
Yeah.
So, but we, you know, several decades ago, or the 18 years ago, when we, if you're looking at the property side,
And we also haven't had a credit crunch.
and the pandemic and the QE and all that, yeah, it's all stacking up against the towards a recession. So that's why I'm thinking inflation is a big thing. You talk about interest rates there, but it's the inflation. They're adjusting the interest rates to counteract the inflation.
I think I most of my career was spent in regulated advice for mortgages, and yeah, I remember going back to early days when I was a mortgage advisor. I first got a mortgage advisor job, and I think interest rates were up at about 18 to 19%.
Wow.
And that's exactly as you said, Chris, to curb inflation, because you probably remember on the TV, and I assume it's in Ireland as well, but you had Harry Enfield doing his loads of money,
Yeah,
sketches and stuff like that. But it literally was, money was piling in, but the value of it was just plummeting. But yeah, that interest rates going up, and that was a difficult time as well, because people were just putting their keys through the letterbox of where I was working, because it had just gone up to the point where the house wasn't worth as much as they paid for it, and what they were having to pay each month for it was about 5 times what they initially expected. It's quite a scary prospect, and yeah, I think as you say, it's looking a bit bleak.
But if you were getting 15 to 20,
so
go
it's
ahead,
not.
Chris.
I was going back, like in our parents' generations, the head of the household could service the mortgage.
Yeah.
Then we had the 80s Thatcherism, where it took 2 people, but now you're having to raise what, 5.5 times an average salary to service a mortgage.
And
That's phenomenal.
yeah, back in the day, they just balk at anything over 2.5 times. But I mean, the other thing is, a lot of people are inheriting houses now, so it's the people that are actually getting on the housing ladder. I don't think people are saving to get on the housing ladder, because it's just so far out of reach. But,
So we'll end up
When they were paying 15 and 20% interest, that was relative, though. It was also on savings. Imagine you had, and I know in today's day in life, £1 million or €1 million isn't a huge, it'd be a huge heap of money for me, but it isn't a huge heap of money. But 10% on $1 million is way more than a month's salary, way more than a year's salary for most people. If the banks were paying that on interest, there'd be nobody in crypto.
I guess the thing is, though, although they were paying that, inflation was still eroding it. So you might have been getting 10% on it, but the value of it, if inflation's at 15%, would have still been going down.
Okay.
But yeah, it swings and roundabouts, isn't it? I mean, it's not looking healthy. So we'll have to see how it all pans out.
So do all you guys think that with a recession, that's going to drive more people towards crypto, Bitcoin?
No, because there'll be no liquidity. I don't believe it'll push more people to it, because it'll tighten liquidity even more. People won't have the spare cash to put in.
Just say people need it to live. That's where the problem will be with it. And people.
Yeah, I would concur with that. You want to get so much money in your pocket.
Mm.
It's when times are good and you've got that extra risk factor in your pocket, because that's the way I think most people approach it. then you're willing to have a punt, bet, speculate.
But that's when it's too late. The millionaires have already been made, and the millionaires are being made when nobody else can afford it.
Yes, they do get in early. They know when they, as Warren Buffett would say, be greedy when others are afraid, and vice versa.
Yes.
They all seem to be lining up just now with their ETFs, don't they? Just
Right.
trying to push ahead of one another in the queue to get signed off so they can fill their bank balances with the retail money.
Well, some of the big guys have institutions have now engaged with crypto lands, pushed by their clients to do so, even Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan and the like. So they're probably rubbing their hands with, you know, a lot of smart guys, smart people. You know, they'll be picking
SAP, although they're just a software company, are engaging in a pilot program where settlement between companies can be made in stablecoin.
Yeah, I think stablecoin is a way forward because it seems to be backed by governments like it much better. It's pegged to something, you know, real tangible asset. So I think stablecoins are worth watching going forward. I think institutions will buy into that. A lot of these tokens and all this stuff, it's like, to me, it's just like the Cabbage Patch Dolls years ago. it's a flavorsome trend.
Yeah,
it's a mix and match. Where's the substance to it?
And you're right, and I think we've talked a lot in the past about use cases and like what tokens actually do and value they provide, and there's definitely a lot of questionable ones out there where it's just a money grab. It doesn't actually have any utility.
Yeah.
Well, we've come to. Sorry, go on, Chris.
No, just there you go. That you asked me to comment and told me to. Sorry, someone should have told me to shut up a while ago.
No, not at all. Well, we've come to 8 o'clock now, so it's been really, really interesting listening to some of the views, and I think the topics we had were really good ones as well. So thank you, everyone. So yeah, that is everything for tonight. So what I was going to do, which I'll very quickly do, is just pop the link in for our Block of Crypto survey, and I'll just give you a very quick sneak preview of where we are, and then we'll close the meeting. So I'll pop the link in the chat. And the reason we asked for this, if I can just share it. There we go. It was just really to find out a little bit more about our community and what our community comprises of. So we've had 23 responses from the Telegram group. And as I said, I'll run down there. It's predominantly male. And we've got quite a split of ages around the 25 to 54 mark. Split of locations as well. So we've got people from all over. I love, yeah, Nigeria, Island N. So it's an island there represented. But yeah, so if you look down here, we've got a massive range of experience, and it's quite interesting that almost half of our group have been in 1 to 3 years, which really, if you look at I suppose those that have been longer in the market, you've kind of seen the ups and downs. And I know my first bull run, and we've got a couple in the group as well that have had the same experience. My first bull run, didn't take profits, saw it go up, saw it go right down again. So it's quite interesting seeing the length of time people have been in the group as well. And we've also got quite a big tech-based industry in our community. So it's tech and finance are by far the highest sectors that people work in. So yeah, interestingly as well, technological interest and investment. So we've got an equal split there, with a few for the other bits. Love that, to make money. Yeah. I wonder, honestly, out of all of these, how many of them actually are to make money? Be quite interested to know with that.
Sam, was there any mention of, sustainability, saving the planet type of ethics going on there in any of those?
No, I mean, what I'll do, I'll go right down to the bottom actually, because you made a good point, but there's some really interesting feedback at the bottom here. Nothing about sustainability, but I think those of you that remember Nanda, who comes on every now and again, I was working on a few projects with her that was around sustainability and carbon neutral blockchains, and working for social good. So it's another area that definitely is something that the blockchain will support.
They're already supporting carbon credits. There is something there for carbon credits on blockchain.
And I think the use cases, when you think about things like Chainlink and so on, with dynamic NFTs, to be able to track, take on chain data, and use that as a, I suppose, a conduit for charitable giving and stuff. So there's loads of different opportunities for it. But what I'll do, I will send some of these out into the Telegram group. I just thought I'd give you a sneak preview. And if you haven't already completed it, please do, because it's really interesting for a start, but also it gives us a bit more of an idea of what our community comprises of. So, currently it's 8:05. So thank you very much, everyone. It's been a really, really good meetup. Don't forget, if you do get the survey pop up after on meetups, please give us a rating. And other than that, next meetup is next week, which is Canada and Ireland. So may see you there.
Excellent.
Nice.
Hopefully see you all there.
See you, John.
Cheers.
See you, Victor.
Cheers, Chris.
See you, John. See you, Henry.
Bye, Henry. Thanks, Pregna.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.
Yes.
See you, Zay. Chris, have a lovely week.
Yeah, you too, guys.
I'll try.
A lot of birthdays
Hard
and
life.
cakes this month, so having a good time.
Oh, happy days. Happy days.
So.
See you, Zay. Simon, do you want to stop the recording?
Yep.